Here in March of 2021, the 2020 NCAA Cross Country Championships are underway. And Carrie, it's a downhill start in this super wide starting straight where everyone tries to get themselves organized in this first kilometer.
Oh, it was so fun to run here yesterday, to feel that downhill, get out fast. You know, the 6K is a lot different than that 10K. They got to get out, they got to get position. We were really worried about mud coming into this race. You know, I know that Dave Smith said that this course is really good with water, but there was a lot of rain that was forecasted. It is a perfect day to run. There's a little bit of wind, like you mentioned, but the course is dry and fast, and that's perfect for 6K.
Little fool's gold out here in that first half mile as you go down the hill and the wind at your back, right? You're like, well, this is, how terrible can this be? This will be great leisurely. And when they start making turns, there's going to be some issues.
Alabama's Mercy Chelengott has gone right out to the front. The junior was the SEC champion in the fall, and SEC Indoors finished third in the 5,000, but did not run at NCAA Indoors, so she has fresher legs. And it'll be so interesting to see early on some of those names we talked about of athletes who ran on Friday or Saturday, like a Bethany Haas. Do they get themselves into the front? Do they get organized early, or are their legs going to feel a little bit heavy early on?
Look at the lineup that Lance Harder's put out there. Chrissy Gear ran a couple of really hard miles at that indoor championship. Abby Gray, key points to their championship when she came through in the 3,000 meters as we come through. Corey Smith, a freshman, getting out there and running as well for Coach Harder's team.
Here's that BYU group. Mentioned Whitney Orton. A couple other names to keep an eye on. How about Anna Camp-Bennett, the senior? She's top 10 contender as well. And again, you want to win the team title, you need depth. On the women's side of things, the coaches think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring meet. Very hard to maybe see a team get under 100 points. That means that the battle for that team championship, Carrie, will really be in those packs of runners between 40th and 60th place as they try to sort out who's got the best 4th and 5th place finishers to get the best team score.
Yeah, and we're looking right now at New Mexico, and that's really where their strength is, the pack, right? You have to make sure you can see your teammates, you know where they're at, feel each other a little bit through the first 3, 4K, and then hammer home. And, you know, when you're running for that team title and you don't maybe have somebody that's going for the individual title to bring you along, you have to work together.
By the way, right in the front, you see Washington's Haley Herberg. That is a familiar sight if you watched the Pac-12 championships last week. She got herself out to basically a 25-second lead over the first 2 kilometers, and this Stanford team led by Ella Donahue couldn't quite catch her. Donahue got close, but used so much energy to get back even in the final 500 meters that the wheels fell off a bit, and Herberg ran away to that Pac-12 individual championship last Friday. Big name on the Stanford list, Christina Aragon. She could be the key carry to a national championship for them. Long career, really dotted with injuries throughout. She's a great 1,500-meter runner, but she's healthy, and she ran as a really strong 5th for Stanford at Pac-12s last week.
Yeah, I think she's coming along at the right time, and that's what Ella Donahue really said. She gave her a lot of credit, but also she knows that she's a leader on the team. So bringing that team together, there's a young squad behind those ladies, or in front of them, to be honest. I mean, they're all over the place, but they really have a nice team and a good family. We've talked about family a little bit. That's what cross country is all about. You're out here putting yourself in position to do well as a team.
We are through the first kilometer. Haley Herberg the lead in 3:05.2. And here are the team results early on. A lot of organizing going on, but Northern Arizona out in front, really well positioned. Their top 5 all within the first 22. Hey, Michael Smith, the NAU coach, told us this could be the story of this meet. All the talk is about NAU's men's team, and they've won 3 national championships. He thinks his women's team is a real podium threat here today.
Yeah, Taryn O'Neill is leading the charge there, and she's amazing. She won Big Sky. She's, you know, a transfer in, but she's really, I think, someone that has her head on her shoulders. She's running well. She was here in 2019. She knows how to run the national meet, so I'm not surprised to see NIU up there. You know, NIU wants to be just like the guys are, you know, they want to win just like their men are doing. So usually that follows suit, and especially when you have a coach like Mike Smith overseeing both programs.
NC State up in that second spot, and we were going to have our eyes on Caitlin Toohey. She's off to an 11th place start in the early going. The head coach of NC State all year long was kind of telling us that they were slow walking Caitlin Toohey this year. Coach Hennis said that they didn't need her to be ready in the fall. They didn't really need her to run much in indoors. They were doing everything they could to have her ready for this meet. And again, if she's close to her natural talent, she had maybe the best high school career in the history of girls high school running. That could all of a sudden elevate NC State into favorite status today if she runs into the top 10.
Well, that's the thing. When you have a taste of winning, whether it's high school, college, or as a pro, you want to get back up there. And I think everyone's just been waiting for Caitlin Toohey to get back to her old form. And she had a big injury, surgery. She's now raced a few times. She's getting that hurt back, right? When you're just training, it's different. And that's what all of these athletes are experiencing right now. Some of them have raced a little bit in the fall. Maybe some of them didn't get to race. They have had a few races under their belt, but that hurt of racing, and Caitlin Toohey, she's got it back.
Haley Herbert still doing the leading work. This is just like how she ran the Pac-12. The only difference is she's had some runners go with her this time. She was off on her own in the Pac-12 championship. Just behind her is NAU's Taryn O'Neill, a Villanova transfer who has helped galvanize this NAU program. And then Mercy Chellingot still keeping herself and her nose in the mix as well. The Alabama coaching staff, John, I know you spoke with them, really high on their chances to have a couple top 5 or top 10 finishers today.
Right now, 3 women up there in that lead pack with Chellingot, Gatahi, and Tanisma, and 2 of those, Amaris Tanisma and Mercy Chellingot, both scratched out of the indoor competition. And Dan Waters, their head coach, he thinks he can finish top 10, which would be a big boost for that program. They haven't done it in a while. The men obviously always strong, but he thinks that if they can go and get a top 10, that would be maximizing their ability here in this part of the season, as opposed to just sort of being there in the indoor meet and participation.
Here are those entries by conference: 5 from the ACC, 5 from the Big Ten, and 4 from the Pac-12 to lead the way. It's 31 women's teams plus 38 individual qualifiers here. And through the 2K split, look at this. NC State has moved into the top spot ahead of Northern Arizona and BYU, both with 125 points. NC State right now has 3 in the top 12. 5 in the top 50, the only team with 5 in the top 50. Stanford has some serious work to do right now. The Cardinal all the way back in 5th, just 2 in the top 20 and only 3 in the top 50 of this pack that's Carrie already starting to get stretched out.
Yeah, this is really where things start to happen on this course. Right when we're coming up to 3K, there are some major hills, and they are going to come around and start to attack that. And I think that's where you're going to see a little bit of separation, but also maybe a little bit of gathering as well. I mean, that's where the teams are going to come together, maybe look around. They have to keep their teammates in sight here, because once they go through that inner loop, you start to lose things. There's so many turns, the ups and downs. You can lose your teammates. So this is a crucial part for all of the athletes right now.
Individual, let's talk about that lead pack. So Herberg is still there, and then Tanisma of Alabama in 2nd. Taryn O'Neill is in that mix, and hey, Whitney Orton, maybe not 100%. She's still running pretty darn well. She's into 4th right now. Hannah Steelman of NC State is in that top 5, and then Chellingot, Toohey up into 7th. Gatahi, Poppy Tank of Utah, and Ella Donahue still there in 10th. She told us, Carrie, at her course, she's a lurker. She doesn't want to be out in front. She likes to lurk in the pack and go with about 800 meters to go. On this course, there's certainly opportunities to move with 800 meters to go, and they're getting a first look in this 2-loop race of some of the tough obstacles coming up here. They're about to dip into the low point in the course and then run that big hill that, again, will be at the finish line as well.
Yeah, you talked about being a lurker. O'Neill said, or excuse me, you were talking about
Ella Donahue.
Ella Donahue, yep. Saying she's a lurker. Sorry, I was just looking at different things. And she said that she was a lurker. Well, you know what? She had to be the hunter at cross country, the conference, excuse me. And you know what? I do think that she learned a huge lesson there. She said she was not going to do that. And at this race, when the team championship is so important, you have to be careful.
And there's safety in that pack where she's running now, because it's great to look impressive in lead, but that wind out there is fierce, and there's energy expended leading this race right now.
Here we see Whitney Orton up there. It's been an interesting fall for her. She had a really good fall, and then she had a foot injury. And, we saw some things at conference where she was doing a really hard workout, trying to get herself back into it. But her coach, they have tattoos on their back. I don't know if y'all saw it at the start line that said "Run for Her." BYU has this amazing chemistry right now, and I think that she's so excited to be back. but she's really thinking about that team title.
7th in this race back in 2019, made her the top women's returner. Hey, she's also a world record holder. She set the world record for the mile dribbling a basketball back in the fall. She dribbled the basketball for a mile in less than 5 minutes. Altitude converted 4:52. Didn't lose her dribble the whole way.
You did an altitude conversion on the mile with a basketball. That's outstanding.
I didn't do it. I'll take credit for it. Someone else did. But yeah, she and her teammate ran that. They were the top 2 times ever run in the world at altitude in Provo. We're through 3K, and you'll see the numbers start to shuffle. The pack is spread out, so you got to wait until you get all 5 across the line to really know what you're looking at. But Orton leads. BYU has 110 points total. NC State 108. So we're starting to see that separation at the midway point. It is the Wolfpack of NC State, the Cougars of BYU, separated by just 2 points. So that means there's this race here up front, but there's also the race in the back. And right now, NC State's 5th is down in 63rd place. BYU's 5 are all in the top 45. So you start to think about the race within the race here. And NC State is going to look to some of its runners deep down, like Dominique Claremont, Julia Zinchaco, to work their way up the standings a bit, try to win that team race.
This is what I like, Bill. I mean, when I was at Villanova, we were competing for those team championships. We thought about seeing our teammates, and I mentioned it today, but I really think that's important. NC State had a 4.5-second gap between, or, you know, their group was 4.5 seconds apart. I mean, that is amazing, and that, I think, is how you win races.
And you look at the numbers on the board. Last year, Arkansas scored 96, BYU close at 102. So in that 100, under 100, puts you certainly in the mix for the team championship. Go through 3,000 miles, and you saw that first K downhill, right? It's a little easier. They ran in 3:05. The second one, most came through 3:23-ish. We're up to 3:37. Some of that's fatigue. Some of that is how much more difficult the course gets as they come through here and halfway. And pretty soon, you know, we've had a lot of running, and pretty soon the racing will start.
And it looks like we're starting to see that with Whitney Orton, who seems to have stomped on the gas pedal a bit. Orton trying to separate herself from the rest of that pack. You saw the orange of Taylor Rowe in Oklahoma State up into the top 3 for now. Carrie, when you've run a course 50, 60, 70 times like some of these Oklahoma State cowboy and cowgirl runners have, how much does that give you the leg up against runners who are here for the first, second, or third time?
I think it's huge. I mean, they know, even from me running this course yesterday, I have a whole new understanding of what they're experiencing. Right here is the final hill before they tackle that last 2K. And I said to you guys, with 2K to go, they better be ready to charge, because that last kilometer is so hard, you guys. It is like you just want to walk, because it's so much of a climb.
And it's not just the whole course to be able to run, it's to be able to run those specific hills time and again and time and again. Exactly. And to know what that grade is, to know where you have to expend yourself. And when you're cresting that hill, and how to carry that momentum best you can.
And if you've never been to a cross-country meet before, it is organized chaos off course as well. You get a workout in if you're one of the coaches, one of the teammates. They're running all over the place trying to pick their teammates up in spots, give them splits, let them know where they are. NC State's still on top. We're coming up to the 4K split, so 2K to go. We'll get a really good idea of what this team race looks like. Whitney Orton still leading the pack for BYU. But again, the challenge for the Cougars here is she's the only one in the top 10, whereas NC State has 3 in the top 11. So those are the differences here in this team battle as we'll start to calculate coming through the 4K.
North Carolina State, they've been to this championship 34 times, 7 times in the top 4, still looking for their first championship. Should be certainly something special to put in the trophy case back in Raleigh.
Now, BYU and NC State have stayed on top, and NC State has extended its lead 90 points now. So the number's starting to come down for both BYU and NC State. The Wolfpack made a move. Remember, they had a fifth pace runner all the way back in 70th place the last K. Now their top 5 are all in the top 40. BYU's top 5 all in the top 38. So those two teams are going to be neck and neck down the stretch. And Kerry, this is where you've won team championships before. You got to focus on the few runners around you in this last K and gain as many spots as you can, winning your individual race, because you never know if finishing 30th compared to 32nd is going to be the difference on whether or not your team wins.
You know, I love what Ed Eyestone, the men's coach at BYU, has said, and they do have quite a bit of overlap with coaching over there. You know, it's quite the team between the men and the women, but he said to every athlete, win your race. If you listen to the audio from his conference race, win your race. Every BYU athlete has to win their race right now. So you can see there's not much more left in this race, and that's what they're thinking. Beat everybody around you. Every single body counts when it comes to that team championship.
You know, we're looking back at the pack, and the pack between about 30th and 50th is where that race may be won. BYU has Sarah Musselman and Lexi Halliday in there. Halliday only a freshman. NC State has Julia Zachago in that pack. Right now, Musselman and Halliday are just ahead of Zachago. So that's the race that you got to keep your eye on as you also watch the front here, where Whitney Orton continues to push, but right with her the whole way, Amaris Tenisma, the Alabama sophomore, has been running really well. In fact, the Crimson Tide have 3 in the top 15, 2 in the top 5 right now. The issue is their 4th and 5th place runners are outside the top 100, which is why they're not a factor in the team race right now. You watch the faces here, Carrie, and who looks strongest to you at this moment?
I think Orton looks good. I mean, I think she has that, you know, when you're coming back as the top returner, you have that in your mind, but she's also thinking about her teammates behind her. But I think she looks good. Tenisma's been just hanging out. So she might be the one that doesn't think so much about what she did last year. She's just thinking about today and what she has to do today. She's sitting right on her shoulder. So those two look really smooth.
Then you got Taylor Rowe there, who's run these last couple hills they're coming up on in the final K literally 50-plus times in her career. So she'll know exactly where to balance her effort, when to go, especially on that last grinder that's more than 200 meters long, gradually up the hill before you make the turn for home. And hey, that lurker, Hella Donahue, keeps moving her way up the pack. She's up into 4th, one of the favorites coming in. And Air Force's Mahala Norris, who's doing that double. She finished 4th in the 5,000 on Friday indoors. She's into the top 5 as well. A story of perseverance, someone who nearly left the academy as a sophomore, said she was having a really tough time with everything, balancing academics and cross country. And now as a senior, she's got an opportunity to get herself onto the podium here.
All right, you guys, this is the last K of the race, and you can see our drone is up there. Ella Donahue right there, sitting probably right exactly where she wants to be. When you make that final turn with 200 meters, you're going to slingshot as fast as you can. And someone that has leg speed like her is going to do great on that downhill. But the key is the strength getting up this final K. That's what's going to make or break this race.
Here they go into the low point of the course. From here, you gain almost 80 feet of elevation over the next 400 meters. There's a steep little kicker, then a turn, and a long gradual climb up. NC State 95 points. Let's see where BYU comes down when they get their 5th runner across. BYU 89 points. So the Cougars have moved ahead of NC State here. That race behind the leader is going to be a big key. And also that close for NC State's top couple of runners, Tui and Steelman, currently 6th and 7th. Can they gain any ground there with Whitney Orton still leading the way for BYU?
Orton is falling off fast. Yeah. She's falling off fast. You can see her coming back. But 2 Alabama girls right up front there.
Mercy Chellen got out in front. Her teammate Tenisma, and then Taylor Rowe right behind her. And here's Ella Donahue and Mahala Norris just behind on this final hill, turning for home. That Orton collapse here will make a huge difference in the team race. She has lost at least 7 positions right now. And can those NC State runners that were just behind jump up into the pack and get into the conversation?
Look at her. She looked to be laboring with her running. See, the stride is all. I don't know if there might be an injury there to try to examine with her if we can get a close-up, because I don't think it's just that, you know, hitting the wall there from what it appeared to be.
Mercy Chellen got the SEC champion in the fall, is starting to pull away. Here's the turn for home, and once you make this turn, you can take a breath. It's downhill to the finish line for 210 meters.
Mercy Chellen got having a great year. She ran 15:48 in a super controlled 5K. She's showing the strength that you need on this course. Yes, speed comes into it, but when you have that strength behind it, that's what it's all about. And this, like I said, you guys, you cannot explain the last 1,000 meters unless you've actually run this course, and it is brutal, but she looks like she's the one powering through.
So 300 meters to go. Again, it flattens out at 200 meters to go. Chellen got pulling away. Taylor Rowe of Oklahoma State on home turf into 2nd, and Tenisma of Alabama into 3rd. You see Donahue laboring in 4th, and look at the Wolfpack coming in 5th and 6th place. NC State is churning its way toward a possible team win.
So Dan Waters had it right. Took her out of the meet over in Fayetteville. She didn't have a great SEC championship, but was so good in Baton Rouge at the SEC cross-country meet, waited, and then just took over the field. Yeah, comes from a good family. Her brother, Vincent Kiprop, has been a high finisher in this meet several times, and she looks like she is going to take this thing home easily.
Alabama has never had an individual cross-country champion. Looking to give the SEC its first individual cross-country champion, as here comes Mercy Chellengat chugging home. She just charged the final kilometer. Chellengat, for the Crimson Tide, takes the NCAA individual title. Taylor Rowe on home turf goes second, and Tanisma third. Now keep your eye on those NC State Wolfpack with Norris fourth. NC State looking at a fifth and an eighth right now, with Taryn O'Neill of NAU coming home for sixth.
Great run by Hannah Steelman.
Steelman in for fifth. Donahue laboring to the line, and Caitlin Toohey caught her to gain a point for NC State. That could loom large. Kelsey Chamil got up into the top 10 for NC State as well. Chamil into 9th place. Anna Camp, BYU's first finisher, all the way to 11th. So we still have not seen Whitney Orton come across.
Crossed at 17th when she came through there. 17th.
So Orton went from 1st to 17th, and from 1st for BYU to their 3rd runner behind Aubrey Frentway as well. We have 3 home for BYU. We have 2 home right now for NC State. Looks like Caitlin Toohey ended up falling off the pace as well. Looking for her to come home in 3rd.
BYU.
So BYU has brought 5 across. Now we're waiting for them to all populate here. It is mass carnage when you come across a 6K on this course. Just runners everywhere at this point.
I mean, you can see them coming in, every single one of them just reaching for that finish line, Bill, and every single one of them reaching for every spot for their team. What a great course, but it's a killer.
Well, we can tell you now, Mercy Chellengat has won the national championship individually for Alabama. The rest of the pack coming home here, and these late runners in the 50s and 60s can still go a long way in telling you who wins the team title. Now we're just waiting, with all these bodies coming across, for them to sort out who came across where down the field for BYU, for NC State. Those two were the top 2 teams. In the top 20, which we can give you right now, there were 2 for the Wolfpack in 5th and 9th. There were 3 for the Cougars in 11th, 16th, and 18th. Both those teams have 5 home now, and they're just tallying up who goes where and figuring things out at this point.
Well, BYU had all of its women up front, their 5, and as well as NC State. Now the rest of them come through, fighting the rest of that 6,000 meters. Last 200 downhill.
And you can see what carnage that last kilometer can be. The fact that we saw a couple runners go from first or in the top 5 to out of the top 10. You saw Chellengat run that last kilometer perfectly and really separate on the final hill.
You know, a lot of the athletes had talked about, do they go and press this hard? Do they save a little for that final 2K? And I think we saw those athletes that didn't take over in that middle stages of 3K, 4K. They waited and they saved a little something for that final kick. Those are the ones that prevailed on this course. This course is not forgiving. It is hill after hill, and even the downhills hurt. So it's an amazing course, but it is a hard one.
Still waiting for the data to come in. It stopped after the top 20 with lots of bodies coming through. So when we have it, we will give you the national champion. It really feels like it's BYU and NC State, and the race for 30th, 40th, 50th was going to make the difference. Those last couple Cougars and last couple Wolfpack runners coming home. Terry, here's the carnage after a race like this. What's it feel like to totally empty the tank for your teammates in a race like this?
I mean, there's nothing like it once you kind of catch your breath. Right now, it's super hard. But, you know, we are hearing screams and joy and all this excitement, and all of these athletes should be so excited to be here. The world's been through a lot. And, you know, for a cross-country runner at their collegiate level, this is such an important part of your career, and it's really nice to see them back. The big thing I think that we need to talk about is we didn't have that fall together for a lot of these athletes. They were on their own. They didn't have that camaraderie that you get. And now it's just starting to show, and I think they're really excited to put it together today.
Mercy Chellingot wins the first national championship for Alabama. We'll hear from her when we come back. Mercy Chellingot, the individual champ, will sort out the team scores as well.